If this video found you, chances are you know what League of Legends is, and you've probably played SoloQ yourself. I've been playing League since Season 5 on the EOS server. I started playing Ranked in Season 6, where I began in Bronze 3. I then quickly dropped to Bronze 5 and was stuck there for about half a year. Over the years, I tried every role before settling on mid lane, with top lane as my secondary role. After spending my first year in Bronze, I then climbed to Silver, eventually to Gold, and soon even Platinum. My first Diamond finish came in Season 13 Split 1. Finally, in Season 15, I reached Masters for the first time, with my peak being at 329 LP. Since around Season 8, Vladimir has been my main champion. I've spent thousands of games learning every interaction and all the matchups. At one point, I was ranked as the 18th best Vladimir player on the EOS server, and even found myself giving advice to higher ranked Vladimir players, such as Elite 500. You probably have heard of him. On a side note, I didn't fundamentally change his views of the champion, but I did have a few tips here and there. I don't mention any of this to brag. I mention it because I want to make one thing clear. This isn't a video about someone that's hard stuck and blaming their teammates. The rank system worked as intended for me. I climbed from Bronze to Masters. Yet after nearly 11 years of playing, I've come to believe that SoloQ is fundamentally flawed. Not because it's difficult, but because it tries to measure individual skill in an environment that is shaped around team play. So what is SoloQ actually measuring? SoloQ only allows you to queue alone or with one other player. That means every game consists of you and anywhere between 3 to 4 random players that you've never met before. That means every game consists of you and anywhere between 3 to 4 random teammates that you've never met before. However, League is a team game. Every role has responsibilities. Every champion has strengths and weaknesses. Team compositions do matter. Objective control matters. Vision matters. Timing matters. None of these things are designed to be done alone. Yet SoloQ asks you to prove your skill whilst always being met with changing teammates. So what exactly is your rank measuring? It's obviously measuring mechanics. It's measuring champion mastery. It's measuring game knowledge. It's measuring macro. But it's also measuring something else. Your ability to adapt to random teammates. Your ability to stay calm when games become chaotic. Your mental endurance over hundreds of games. Your ability to carry players who are having a bad game. Your ability to work with people you've never met. Those are skills. But are those really the skills that ranked should value? This brings me to my next point. League expects teamwork, but discourages communication. The game constantly expects coordinated play. Contest Baron together. Set up vision. Coordinate lane assignments. Engage at the same time. Peel for carries. Trade objectives. These are team decisions. Yet League still has no voice chat for SoloQ. The only communication tools that are available are pings and the text chat. And text chat, most players either disable it completely or use it to flame each other. So Riot expects 5 strangers to perform coordinated plays without providing the best way of communication. That kind of seems like a contradiction. Another thing that is very important to note is that League SoloQ is not professional play. Whenever I hear the argument, oh, but that's how the pros play. That's why I'm doing this and that. No, it isn't how the pros play. Professional League is almost an entirely different game. Professional teams practice together every day. They know each other's tendencies, they review games together, they communicate constantly through voice chat. SoloQ is the complete opposite. You get 4 strangers, nobody knows how the others like to play, nobody knows each other's champion pools, nobody knows how aggressive or passive the others are. So you're trying to imitate professional teamwork without having any of the conditions met that even enable professional teamwork. Now let's compare League of Legends as an esport to actual sports. League is one of the biggest esports in the world. But imagine if traditional sports worked the same way. Imagine every basketball game assigns you 4 random strangers as your teammates, people you've never met before. No practice, no chemistry. No established roles. After every game, everyone gets shuffled again. Your ranking depends on how well you perform with these random teammates. Most people would immediately recognize this as a terrible competitive format. Yet, that's exactly what SoloQ asks us to accept. And yes, I know, the randomness applies to everyone playing. Given enough games, better players climb. We've seen Challenger players reach Challenger over and over again. That isn't my argument. My argument is that SoloQ introduces enormous amounts of variance. This is pretty counterproductive to a game whose entire identity revolves around coordinated teamwork. So let's ask the question, why does climbing take hundreds of games? If SoloQ perfectly measured individual skill, why does everyone recommend playing hundreds of games every season? Because every single match contains massive amounts of variance. Different teammates, different opponents, different champion pools, different mental states, autofills, smurfs, AFKs, intentional griefers. Sometimes you hard carry. Sometimes your bot lane is 0-10 before you finished your first item. Sometimes you're the one having a bad game. Over enough games, these things average out. And that is why good players eventually climb. But notice what that means. The ranking system isn't identifying your skill from one game. It's trying to filter out all the noise by putting together 10 complete strangers. The more noise there is, the more games you need before your rank actually reflects your level. Another big point is agency. People often say League players hate losing. I don't think that is necessarily true though. I think people hate feeling powerless. And there's a huge difference between the two. If I lose because the enemy mid laner outplayed me, that's okay. I got outplayed and I probably deserve to lose. But if I lose because someone disconnects, starts intentionally feeding, or gives up after 5 minutes, then I didn't really get the opportunity to play the game. And those games reduce player agency. Of course, there is statistically part of the system, but there are also some of the least enjoyable experiences the game can offer. Let's talk about Clash and how it shows what League is actually supposed to be. One of Riot's best additions to League was Clash. Ask almost anyone who's played it. They'll often say something like, "This feels like real League of Legends." And why? Because you're finally playing with an actual team. You communicate, you prepare, you draft together, you improve together, win or lose. Everyone shares the same goal. Ironically, the mode that feels most like League isn't the mode that most players spend thousands of hours grinding. Okay, let me conclude everything. I want to make something very clear. I'm not saying that SoloQ is impossible to climb. I climbed. Many others climbed much higher than I ever did. I'm also not saying that the ranked system is unfair. Over enough games, better players consistently end up with higher ranks. My point is different. League of Legends is one of the greatest competitive team games to ever exist. Yet, its primary competitive mode focuses almost entirely on evaluating individuals by putting them into teams of complete strangers. To me, that's a contradiction. SoloQ isn't flawed because it's hard. It's flawed because it's trying to measure individuals in a game whose greatest strength has always been team play. And maybe that's why so many players eventually stop enjoying the climb. Not because they stop loving League of Legends, but because the mode they're spending most of their time in isn't actually the best representation of what makes League such a great game in the first place. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if so, feel free to leave a like and let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts are on League of Legends SoloQ. I've been Just Real Kaido, and see you in the next one.